Hello everyone, and I think we're live. It's been a while since I've done any streaming and I'm on a new computer, so I had to set everything up. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully all of this is working. Just as I was starting, I had the wrong settings and I was dropping 30%. But before I turn the screen off, let me just double check. Hey Andreas, hi, how you doing? So I think the microphone was not set up correctly. Let me just see if that is working. Okay. So let me know if there's any problems, if you see anything or you hear anything that doesn't sound right. But let's get started. So first things first. All right, so here we are. I haven't seen anybody in a long time. You guys haven't seen me in a while, but I'm still alive, so I hope you guys are all doing well. So the setup that I've got here is same as usual. I'm seeing you guys on that screen, so if I'm looking that way, it's just so I can see the chat, which I'm gonna move so I can see it a bit more easily. There we go. But there we go. Hey, how are you doing? Excellent. I'm glad this is working. So this stream is the start of a new series, and Paul was commenting in the chat a while back that this series is going to be awesome, and I think it is. I hope so. So what we're going to be doing is, quite simply, I'm gonna try to build a software as a service project in front of you, live, using Flask, Python, and a bunch of other technologies. I'm gonna go into everything that we're gonna do in a moment. And the ultimate aim is to make something that can get some use. The volume is a bit low, maybe. Let me turn it up. So that's me turned it up a bit. But I can't turn it up much more, otherwise I'm gonna start going into the red. Let me know if that's better. So yeah, let's do that. So the idea, is to build a project that can actually get some use, and we'll see if we succeed. The project that we're gonna make is quite ambitious, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, let me go through this presentation quickly. I'll tell you a little bit about what's happening, and then we'll get to building. And a lot of this stream is not gonna be a teaching stream, although I am going to try to get some instructive moments throughout, some planned instructive moments throughout the stream. But for the majority of the series, I'm gonna be building and struggling throughout building this project, because as I'm sure you guys know, I don't just open an editor and make a project appear. Most of my time is spent Googling, researching, trying things out, looking at other people's code and try to figure out what's going on, etc. So let's just get started and we'll try it out. So yeah, well, give me a second, because maybe I can increase the volume a little bit. Let's see if that's any better. So I've increased it a bit, and this is really as high as I can go. So hopefully that's a bit better. Let me know how it is. Excellent. Very good. Here I am applying compressors on the fly to the audio signal. I hope that it doesn't sound really terrible, because you never know. I can't hear myself. So okay, let's get started then. So cool. All right. So to plan a SaaS project, this is episode 1 of the Building a SaaS App with Flask and Python live series here on YouTube. And let's talk about how to plan a SaaS project, what a SaaS project is, why you might want to make one, how to start planning one, and then we'll talk about the project that we're going to be building in this series. Forgive me for the images. They're just the default images that come with this PowerPoint software. I didn't have time to change them. So you're going to see a couple of these moss pictures. So what is a SaaS app? Software as a service just means that we're providing software over the internet. Users are not going to download. They're not going to buy a copy of the software, and they're not going to own the software. So basically just a website that does something for which users will pay, usually a subscription. So there are a few parts to any SaaS app. The two main ones are the website that users interact with. So all the buttons, text, everything they see, that's the front end. Usually that's a website or a mobile app. Although it could be anything else, as long as users receive this software over the internet. As well as the front end, we've got the back end, which is a server that handles the app's data and gives each front end what they require. And by each front end, I don't mean separate applications, but I mean each user who is running the front end in their browser. Well, the back end is going to interact with each one of those browsers and give them the data they need, and also receive data from the front ends. The back end also uses a database most of the time, otherwise your application can't do much. But the most important thing for any SaaS app is that there has to be a problem that exists, that needs solved, and the SaaS app is the solution to the problem. So that's really the parts of any SaaS app. It's really quite straightforward in terms of the way that it is constructed. But obviously making it is not so easy. So the easiest way to get started planning a SaaS app is for you to have a problem that needs a solution, and you make software to solve this problem for yourself. And then if you have a problem, I'm sure that other people are going to have the same problem, and you can sell the software to them or a subscription to your SaaS app. So in this series, we're going to be building a social media scheduler app. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of covering over the text there. I'm going to go away for a second so you can see it. There's loads of social media schedulers. There's things like Buffer, Zoho, OneUp, and dozens more. But and some of them are very good. I've said here that there's loads of them, but they're not amazing. Some of them are quite amazing. But there's loads of them, and they all kind of thrive in the current market because they offer things in a slightly different package. So lots of competitors means that there's a big market for the product that you're thinking of. And this is usually a misunderstood thing where people, when they're starting their first startup or the first SaaS app, which is what most startups are these days, they want to find something unique, a new idea. But don't try to come up with new ideas because they likely don't solve a real problem that people have. That's why nobody's made that before. Now, it's possible that you'll find something that people do need, but they don't know they need, and then you find a new idea that is actually really good, but it's unlikely. A small slice of a big market is more valuable than a big slice of a small market. So if you can make something like a social media scheduler app that has hundreds of thousands of customers worldwide, and you can get just 0.1% of those customers, you're gonna do pretty well for yourself. Whereas if you try something new, you maybe won't find any customers because nobody's interested in that. So in a few words, a big market, lots of competitors, just means there's interest in your idea. And as a small startup, you can really focus on building something very specific in your product that offers something different from your competitors. It doesn't have to necessarily be better, but it can be different. It can be focused on something specific, and then you can take away customers from your competitors who really want specifically the features that you're focusing on. So without going too general, you can start small. And then you target a smaller segment of the market and you differentiate yourself from your competitors. And usually you're also going to want to price yourself more cheaply than your competitors so that you can also compete on price. Also, there's the undeniable truth that as a bigger company, you have more resources. So your competitors are probably going to have a larger team of software developers working on things. And stuff like that. So there are things that you won't be able to compete on and things that you can compete on. So you want to focus on the things that you can compete on naturally. So you should research your competition. I mean, this is a given. When you're doing coding, you want to look at what other people have written. When you're doing design, you want to look at what other people have designed. And when you're building a product, you want to look at what other people have built. So you want to know what your competitors are offering, and if you are using the product that your competitors have built, which is usually what's going to happen if you're solving a problem you yourself have, then you should focus on the features that you use the most, because those features are the ones where you can really come in as an expert on using the feature and say, it's great that they've got this feature, but I would do it a little bit differently for some reason. And then maybe your SaaS app can focus on that specifically. So if all your competitors offer a certain feature, then that's probably an important feature. If you always use the same feature, then that's probably an important feature. And those two are suggestions that's where you can start. And you should start with a single feature, a single product offering, a very focused piece of the market, like I said. Make it better and cheaper than your competitors, or at least make it more focused on a specific use case. As your competitors get bigger and they are longer standing companies, then problems start to appear in product. And I'm sure you've seen this in a lot of products that you use. Products become bloated. Too many features, they become difficult to use, or they're very ugly and old, or they're extraordinarily expensive. And all of these things you can kind of trim away the fat, if you will. And that's one of the key benefits of startups. So yeah, what we'll be doing is the Instagram post scheduler. Like I said, there are many social media schedulers. I'm sure there's room for one more. We're going to be focusing on Instagram single post scheduling specifically. And to be fair, this is probably not going to be a successful SaaS app that's going to, make us millionaires, because Instagram post scheduling is something that basically everyone is doing, and there's not that much to it. But there are a couple of reasons why I wanted to build this. The first one is to show you how to build a SaaS app. To kind of start small with this social media scheduler, and also to share with you and learn myself about working with images in a bit of a scalable way, how to run scheduling algorithms and things like that. So this is what we're going to be building, and there are hundreds or thousands of other ideas that you could build. So this is just one idea. And we're going to use quite a lot of technologies. So Flask, Python, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these are the languages we're going to be, Flask is not a language, but the other four are languages we're going to be using. Flask is going to be the main backend library that uses Python. We're going to be using the Instagram API for publishing, of course. We're going to use Postgres for storing info about each post that we want to schedule, and about each user that logs in with our application. We're going to use B2 Backblaze for storing the images that users give us before we post them to Instagram in case they want to schedule them for later. Alternatives to B2 Backblaze, which I'm sure a lot of you won't have heard of, are things like Amazon S3. But given the current events surrounding Amazon lately, I've decided to stay away from Amazon and we're going to use B2 Backblaze instead. It seems like a pretty solid offering anyway, and it is compatible with Amazon S3. So if you wanted to use Amazon S3, it's pretty easy to use S3 instead of B2 Backblaze. And we'll possibly be using Celery for running the background tasks that do the publishing. So Celery allows us to delay runtime and schedule runtime of Python functions. So we could write a function to go through our database and post to Instagram the posts that have been scheduled when they are scheduled. So maybe we'll use Celery for that, but I haven't gotten that far yet in this application, in the planning. So maybe we'll find something else that's better to use. But I guess we'll find out. Like I said, I've done a little bit of research on this, but most of this stream is going to be me building in front of you. So this is the sort of presentation side of things. And from here on, it's a more hands-on approach that I'm going to take, I guess. So this is how I think it's going to go. We are gonna start in episode 1, which is here. We've already talked about what a SaaS is, how to start building one, and what we're gonna build. And now we're gonna set up the project. We're gonna try to upload photos to B2 Backblaze. We're gonna create the Flask app with user authentication so users can log in and sign up. And if we have enough time, which I think we probably won't, but we'll try to see if each user that signs up to our application can upload their own photos and see their own photos uploaded to B2 Backblaze. We're going to try to do all this. I have no idea how long it's going to take. Maybe we won't get to any of it. Anything that we don't get to, we'll move on to episode 2, which will be in 2 weeks' time. Each episode is going to be around 2 hours, and I'm going to try to edit a video out of each episode so that I can put it up on YouTube after and have a bit of a summary in there for people who don't catch all the episodes. After we do all of this, then we're going to try to link each of our application's users with the Instagram API so that we can upload the photos that we've put in B2 Backblaze to Instagram. And then after user linking, we're going to try to upload the photos and assign a schedule for each upload and put that in the database. And then in the episode after that, we'll try to use Celery or something like that to actually process the schedules and upload all the pictures. And there'll probably be a couple more episodes where we finish things up because I don't think we're going to get to this in time, but we're going to try. So Christopher, yeah, the streams will be available later as VODs. And like I said, I'm going to try to make a video out of each one for a shorter catch-up summary, I guess. Okay, so that's everything from this presentation. And like I said, this is where the teaching aspect kind of ends. So from now, it's just coding. And I mean, feel free to follow along with me if you like. It's totally up to whatever you guys want to do. If you want to follow along, I'm more than pleased if you guys do that. And yeah, the application itself will all be on GitHub. So oh, sorry, oh, that's my bad. Let me bring this up again. There we go. Okay, there we go. By the way, is the stream quality okay? Because YouTube is saying that it's very low. So let me know if it is okay. Let me quit that. Excellent. That's great to hear. Okay, so we're gonna do a Flask app, a Flask project. And the way I like to start my Flask projects is, well, obviously with a virtual environment. So let me zoom in a little bit. I hope that this is visible. This text is a little bit bigger than I normally would, but hopefully you guys can see. So let's create a virtual environment and then install Flask. So this gives me the Python 3.10 virtual environment and Flask, and we're going to be using a bunch of other libraries as well, like Flask Security 2 and the B2 Backblaze. But let me just start the app. And something else that we are going to set up whenever we're setting up a large project is obviously the templates folder, the static folder. These two are necessary in Flask apps. We have app.py here. We're going to set up a Git repo. So this now becomes a Git repository, and this is all going to be open sourced, available in Git. So I'll be committing and pushing as we go along. I'll share with you guys repo in a moment. I haven't created it yet, so I still need to do that. So we've got that. Then we're going to have a .env file, and here we're going to put any secret keys that we need. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. We're also going to make a .env.example file. And here we're gonna, so the .env file is not gonna be in our repo. The .env.example file is gonna be in our repo, and here is gonna show what keys our application needs, but not contain the values of those keys, because we don't want the values to be in GitHub where they're all public. Values such as Instagram API secret keys or the B2 Backblaze secret keys, etc. Then we're gonna have a git ignore. And the git ignore is just for files and folders that are not going to be in Git. It's important that you set this up initially because you don't want things to get into Git. Then it's a little bit more tricky to get them out. So the virtual environment is not going to be in Git. Any Python compiled files are not going to be in Git. The .env file also, ds store, idea, pycache. This is like the basic bits that are not in Git. Okay, then we're gonna set up our linter and formatter. So a linter is gonna give us some error messages when our code doesn't meet certain criteria, such as line length or stuff like that. So I'm gonna make a .flake8 file in here that contains the flake8 settings. And we're obviously going to use flake8 as our linter. Then we're going to have a requirements.txt, which at the moment is going to contain Flask. And we're going to have a requirements dev.txt, which at the moment is going to contain flake8, which is the linter, and yap, which is the formatter. So whenever we save our code, it's going to format it using yap so that we don't have to worry about formatting. And any errors, it's going to use flake8 to tell us a little bit about them. Ask any questions that you have as we go along, by the way. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so if you're wondering anything, why I'm using something or why I'm not using something, just let me know. So we have to tell VS Code to use flake8 and yap. So we do that in the settings, the workspace settings, under extensions, Python. And in here, formatting provider is going to be yap. And that's that. And then if we go to app.py here, we can go to Python select linter, and that's going to be flake8. And we are going to install the two Pythons, install-r requirements dev.txt. So flake8 is a linter. So that's it installed. We also need to tell VS Code to use the virtual environment that we've got selected. So we're going to do that there. And what a linter is going to do, Christopher, is basically have some rules that we have to adhere to. I'm going to bring in some settings, some flake8 settings from here. So that's things like max line length, the maximum complexity of functions, which is how many nested levels of if statements and things like that we can use, stuff like that. And so the linter is going to check them and make sure that we don't go over them. Okay, we also want to go to the git ignore again and add the VS Code file in there. So we don't want to put that in our git repo. And now that we've got all of this kind of set up, we're going to add everything and we're going to commit it. First commit. And now obviously we can't push because we don't have a remote repo. So let me just set that up. Let's go over to GitHub and do that. Oh, that's very slow. I'm wearing these headphones and I don't even have any music on. So that's not necessary. Okay, let's create a new repo under here. So there we have it. We'll copy that. And then we'll add it to this. So git remote add origin and that. And then we'll just push to it. Seems that with the stream, the internet's not working. So there we have it. We should have some code in here. Yay, we do. So no README yet. Should probably add a README later. But it's all here. So teclado code /Instagram scheduler stream. You can see the code in there. You can clone it. You can follow along if you want. That's all good. So the first thing that we're gonna do, and by the way, I've done something in this project that is maybe not such a good idea, but we haven't done anything bad either. And the thing that I've done is I've created this app.py and I've installed Flask. Before doing that, it's probably a good idea to get the main mechanism of our app working. So what is our app gonna do? Because the Flask side of things is for communicating with users, right? We're gonna serve a front end, a website, and users are gonna go on it and they're gonna then communicate with our Flask app. The Flask app is gonna do something for each user. But the truth is, we don't have any users right now, so worrying about how different users are going to upload their different pictures and how they're going to access our database and storing all these things in a database before we have anything to store is maybe a little bit premature. So let me see if I can do this. Yes, I can. Oh my god, I can't believe that actually worked. I was fighting with this thing for ages yesterday, trying to get this to work. So let's quickly talk about how, the flow of data in our application, because that's the most important thing really with any SaaS app. Where is the data coming from? Where is it going? What parts of the data flow are the most important to worry about first, because if they don't work, or if you can't get them to work, then your application really has nothing. So let's talk about that real quick. So what I've got here is I've got my iPad, and I'm just gonna, with my very bad handwriting, I'm gonna draw a little bit about the flow of data that I foresee in this application. So how this is going to start is, obviously we've got the user, and users are going to upload the photos through our front end. And then that's going to go into our Flask backend. And then what happens is a couple of things are going to happen. Let me just go here. It's going to put something into our Postgres database. So this is going to go into Postgres. And what's going to go into Postgres is some metadata about the picture. I hope you guys can see this. I've never done any iPad sort of streaming before. Anyway, so we're going to have some photo metadata. We're going to have probably a caption that goes on Instagram. And we're going to have things like which account this is going to be posted under. And we're going to have things like the schedule that is going to get posted on. And probably a bunch more things. But what's also going to happen is the photo itself is not going to go into Postgres. The photo itself is going to go into B2 Backblaze. And here, all we're going to do is put the picture into what's called a bucket. Then, what I think is going to happen, although we haven't gotten to planning this bit yet, is there's going to be some sort of a scheduler which may be Celery, that every minute or maybe every 5 minutes is going to run through and look at the database, see what pictures need to be posted, and post them. So using the Instagram API, it's going to take that data and it's going to post it to Instagram. So I guess the question is, what is the main part of our application that without it, nothing is going to work? And obviously, they're all parts of our application. We need them all in order for the app to be able to go out there. But which part doesn't need users? Because at the moment, we don't have any. So I would say that the part that doesn't need users is this one here. Uploading to Backblaze, uploading our pictures to Backblaze. Once we've got our pictures uploaded to Backblaze, I know that it will be fairly straightforward to scale that to more users. The reason why I know that is because the picture uploading system is going to be the same whether we have 1 user or 100 users. All that's going to happen is when we upload a picture, we're going to, in the database, put a row in there that says this user uploaded that picture. And that's really the extent of it. But the actual uploading is something I've not done before, so I need to figure out if that can be done, first of all. I'm sure it can, but I've not done it, so maybe I can't do it. So something, if it can be done, how difficult is it going to be? Can Flask and Python do it? All these questions that don't need users, yet it is the main part of our application, the actual storage of pictures. Then the second part, so this is number 1. Oh, that was a terrible Let me do this. This is number 1. Number 2 would be to save information to Postgres. So I think that's number 2. And then number 3 is to schedule. I think this is kind of how it's going to go. Christopher, that's exactly right. Postgres would have probably the file URL that Backblaze gives us. So using that file URL, we can just retrieve the file from Backblaze. Okay, so I think that this is how we're gonna go about it. So the reason why I said earlier that maybe we did something bad with creating the Flask app at this stage is because I think the uploading of the photos to Backblaze is something we can do without users, something we can figure out before we start getting the app out there. And it's simpler to upload photos for a single person than it is to worry about multiple users and then uploading pictures for all of them. So I'm gonna try to figure that out first. See if we manage. And sorry, I know the lighting here is not amazing, but let's see. So something that I would recommend you guys do for your coding is something like what I'm setting up here. I'm using this app called DevonThink, which is something that I've not used for a long time, just a couple of months. But I would recommend that you have something like what I've got here, which is basically a note-taking system. And you can do this in VS Code. There's a thing called foam bubble. This is not what I was hoping for, but obviously that makes sense. Knowledge base. I will find this. There we go. This is the one. foambubble.github.io. So if you guys are looking for a personal knowledge management, knowledge base type thing, you can use this. It's free. It's built on VS Code, and you can use Git for the actual storage of your notes. So having a note-taking system so you can keep track of all these things that you're learning and all the things that you want to read and figure out. Good idea. So yesterday I was just looking into uploading files to Backblaze with Python and Flask. I was looking at uploading to the Instagram API. I was looking at logging, at handling large file uploads, and we've got some articles here that I'll need to kind of flesh out and understand. And a good way to flesh out and understand programming concepts is to write about them. So what I do with my notes is I kind of figure out where I'm going to get my knowledge from by doing broad research. And you can see that I'm kind of collecting links about a certain topic. Hey Marcelo, welcome. And then what I do is I kind of write an article as though I was teaching this to someone that didn't know about it. So that's my way to take my programming notes, and I would suggest you do the same thing or something similar. But we're gonna start here with looking at the Backblaze B2. Well, let me Backblaze B2. Let me first show you what it is before we look into the documentation. Yeah, that's a good question, Christopher. We are, since this is a SaaS app, normally you'll do subscriptions. So I think that's what we would end up doing, which is put maybe put a limit on how many Instagram photos can be scheduled ahead of time, and then charge monthly subscription for anything more than that. So basically, Backblaze B2 is a cloud storage service. You can put things in there, and it's basically like Dropbox, except the developer ecosystem around it is a little bit nicer, because there are APIs like Python libraries that you can use to upload your photos there, get a link to a photo, and stuff like that. You can also use it for like backing up your computer and stuff like that. That's also something you can do. Let me just sign into here. Marcelo, yeah, you're exactly right. Backblaze is exactly like Amazon S3. Sorry, let me just grab this. There we go. I don't know about the safety of doing this on stream, but I hope it's okay. Anyway, we've got a bucket. So a bucket in B2 is exactly like a bucket in Amazon S3. It's just a place for files. And here a bucket can have folders in it, and it can have files. And because we're going to access all of this programmatically, and each file is going to have its corresponding database record, we don't need folders, we don't need to divide the photos per user or anything like that. Everything can just be dumped into here, and then we'll access the files individually. We also have to remember to delete the files as we go along. Pardon me. We're gonna have some API keys and whatnot. I hope we don't get in trouble showing these on stream. I'll have to change them after. Okay, so with this created, so you'll have to sign up and everything. It's free for the first 10 gigabytes, so plenty to test out your app. With that there, let's have a look at the documentation that we've got here to see how to do it from Python, because this is kind of the first thing that I'm going to need to figure out. And this is extraordinarily slow. So I'm here at the quick start guide, and these things are not going to look overly simple. I hope that we'll be able to figure it out. So from what I can tell, we're gonna have our account, and then we're gonna access the bucket within that account, and then we're gonna upload pictures into there. We can also use that bucket instance to get a link to the file. So kind of like that, really. Okay, let's try to figure it out. So I'm going to move this to my other screen, and we're going to go in here, and here in app.py, instead of doing anything to do with Flask, we're going to try to upload a picture into here. And the picture that we're going to upload is going to be one of these pictures. So I'm just going to bring in a picture in there for testing. This picture that we got made for our blog. So this is the picture we're going to upload. It helps to have something that you're testing out. So let me just actually bring this into here. Yeah, like that. This is probably a bit better, so you guys know what's going on. Okay, so there's a tutorial in here which is pretty nice. Account info holds information about access keys, tokens, upload URLs. That's good. We're gonna first need to install, and that's B2 SDK that we're installing. And now we're really starting on the just figuring it out part of the streams. So this is not a teaching stream because I've never used it before. So from so it seems V2 is the latest version, which is good. And we're gonna do that. Just earlier what Flake 8 is, and basically Flake 8 is the linter that will give you things like this. In-memory account info is imported but unused. So it's gonna kind of give you problems, suggestions whenever something that doesn't adhere to the rules that it considers to be good, and you can also modify it with the .flake8. So then YAP, you can see that my spacing here was kind of messed up, but YAP on save will reformat it. So if I make a mistake, it'll kind of look okay. And we're going to use B2. So this is what we need. And we're basically going to follow that then. I find it a bit weird that this in-memory account info doesn't take any arguments. Those go into here, but that's okay. We're going to copy this. But obviously we need to replace these for our app ID. So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of the .env file at that point. So from .env, import load .env, and we're going to import OS, and we are going to install python-.env, and we've got application key ID and application key. So B2 app key ID is going to be equal to something, and B2 app key is going to be equal to something else, and we need to find them in our application. So in an effort to not show them, I'm not sure if I'm going to manage it. I'm going to bring it over to my other screen. And I'll try to populate them in here. So I'll put the key ID and the key in here, and I'll close the .env file, and I'll try to not show it again. See if we manage. But it kind of look like this anyway. So you go to your app keys, and you can give your key name. And this is going to have access to the Instagram schedule, read and write. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to bring it over to the side then. And what that's given me is a key ID and an application key, which is exactly what we need. So let me bring this over to the other screen, and I'll paste them in. And then I will try to not show them again. Not sure if I'll manage, but we'll try anyway. Okay, that's it. So now that we've got that, what we want to do is load the .env file, and that is going to populate the OS environment variables. So once we've done that, it's going to go into the .env file, it's going to read the values that are in there, and then we're going to have here OS environ .get, and that is, what's it called? Ooh, I didn't populate that. B2 app key ID. Anyways, is that. And here is B2 app key. And there we have it. So with that, we can continue. And this authorizes the account. These keys that I've got only have access to the Instagram scheduler bucket that I've got. That is this one here. we want to retrieve a bucket, because once we've got a bucket object, we can then do some typical bucket operations like upload a local file. So to retrieve an existing bucket, we're gonna do this. IG scheduler bucket is gonna be that. Instagram scheduler. And we don't need that comma. Okay, so I think that if the authorization goes well, we should print it and we should get an actual object. If the authorization doesn't go well, we'll get some sort of authentication error. So let's run it. Ooh, this may actually be quite slow. All right, so that's very slow. That's not good. Maybe it's just because of the stream, but that's not very promising. But anyway, we have the bucket, so we're in. Now, once we have the bucket here, we can presumably upload a file. So let's go over to the quick start guide and let's have a read. So sync is the preferred way of getting data into and out of B2 Cloud. I'm guessing, yeah, with that you give it a folder, and it kinda, whenever new files get added to the folder, it will upload them to B2. We unfortunately can't do that because the photos are gonna be given to us by our users one at a time. So we're not gonna use sync. We're gonna use this, upload a file. So let's try it. If this is this straightforward, that would be nice. And so the local file path is in here. And I'm just going to copy the path right now. Later on, we will worry about look at that. Later on, we'll worry about using relative paths and all that. I'm not exactly sure what this means. We need to find that out. This reminds me like a good doggo meme or something. Not exactly sure what that means. Okay, but hopefully the file will be a good file and will appear in our B2 bucket. The rest can stay as is, and that's it. Oh, just open my calendar there. Not what I wanted to do. Let's run it and see how many minutes it takes to upload. Something that you'll definitely want to do, and that we'll want to do as we develop this, is put some logging in here so that we know what to do. Oh. That was, obviously that was not good because so here it says application key is restricted to the Instagram scheduler bucket. So I made a mistake. Don't know if you guys spotted it before me. But here we're doing IG scheduler bucket is get bucket by name, and we've given it the Instagram scheduler name of the bucket. And that is a bucket object. But then I've called it again, bucket equal B2 API get bucket by name. except now instead of a string, which is what it needs, I've given it a bucket object, and then the API is like, what are you doing? You don't have access to this bucket, which is this weird string. So obviously we don't need that. Let's try again. Okay, that was much faster than before. So let's see. Browse files, I guess. Let's see if that's in here. 0 bytes. That was not promising, but it is. Look at that. So that's amazing. This file info there, I'm not sure what it means, but we'll figure it out later. So there we go. We've got file upload from our Python code to B2. So that's a brilliant start, and in just a few lines of code. So that's pretty cool. The next step is gonna be to well, what's the next step gonna be? That's worth thinking about. So what we want to do is, whenever we upload a picture, we want some metadata to go into Postgres so that we don't lose this picture, because at the moment this picture is an orphan, right? Nobody knows it's here in the code. So we want to create an appropriate record whenever we upload a picture, and in that record we're going to have some information about our users, etc. So instead of using Postgres for now, we're going to use SQLite, and we're going to use SQL Alchemy to store things, just because I find it quite straightforward. So in order to do that, we are first gonna get our user registration side of things. So I'm pretty happy that this is gonna work in order to let us upload pictures. Let's get the Flask side of things going. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rename this to B2 upload.py, and then we're gonna create an app.py in here, and this is going to be our Flask app that we're going to get started. I've been wanting to use Flask Security 2 for handling some of the user authentication stuff, and I found Flask Security 2, which is a library that does a lot of stuff. It does a lot of stuff for us. So it basically integrates all of these libraries and then gives us all the login, registration, email confirmation stuff for our Flask app out of the box without us having to really do much. And I've been wanting to take a look at it because I was thinking of maybe including some information about this in a course later on. But especially since we're building a SaaS app, we want to do as little work as possible while getting the functionality that we want. So this feels like a pretty good starting point. So let's check it out. And I won't lie to you, I've already used it once, but that was just yesterday. I did some research. And basically what we want to do is we want to install a couple of things in here, and then we want to run that. We didn't like that. That's kind of weird, but that's okay. We can just remove the common. I don't think that's needed. Hey Alyaz, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but thank you. I hope that this is useful. So let's just install them. And usually the square bracket notation here is used to like select a subset of libraries to install. So maybe we'll be missing some if we just install Flask Security 2, but if we are, it'll tell us later on when we run the app and we can install anything that we need separately. And then basically what happens in the Flask Security 2 is quite a few things. So I'm going to start at the bottom of this quick start. We have our models, and these are SQL Alchemy models, which define the user information. And you can see there's quite a lot of data being stored here about each user: email, username, when they logged in, where they logged in from, how many times they logged in, whether they've confirmed their email or not, and any roles. And the roles are just arbitrary metadata that we can assign to each user. And then in our application, we can say if this user has the role of admin, then they can do something. And if this user doesn't have a role of admin, then they can't do something. So this is just arbitrary roles that we can create. And there's the mapping between users and roles. So Flask Security 2 uses these by default to simply set up the database for the users, roles, and users and roles. And then we don't have to set it up ourselves. So what I'm going to do is, here it recommends creating models.py, but because we're going to have other models for SQL Alchemy, we're going to have photos and Instagram scheduled posts and stuff like that. I'm just going to create a models folder, and in here I'm going to create auth.py, and in there I'm going to put it, you can't see anything, in there I'm going to put in these things copied from there. And notice that it imports from database, so this is not a module that we want to install, this is a file that is defined up here. And what database.py does in their example is it just creates the SQL Alchemy connection. So you can see it creates a SQL Alchemy engine, that's a connection to a certain database, and then it takes a connection string. In this case, it's a SQLite connection string, but it could be a Postgres string. Just by changing this here, we'll connect to Postgres if we give it a Postgres connection string. And then it creates a session, and it creates a declarative base class. And this is the base class that we use in our models to tell SQL Alchemy that these here define essentially database tables. So we use that declarative base to tell SQL Alchemy that. Then in the initDB function, all we do is import all the models. So here it imports models, which is models.py, and that brings into the current scope roles, users, role, and user, the three models. And when all the models are in the current scope, you can just do base.metadata.createAll, and that goes through all the base classes and creates a table for each. So that's a pretty powerful way to do that. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to create database.py in here. But obviously we don't have models because we have models auth. But because we want to import everything from all the models that we have, what we can do is we can create an init py file under models. And now when we do import models, what that's actually doing is importing models.init. So that's kind of the default. So anything that we export from init.py will be importable when we do import models. So in here, we're going to do from models auth import role, user, and roles users. And because we've imported these three things, they are available in this module's namespace. And then they will be imported by database when we do import models. Now, Flake 8 is going to complain in a couple of these places. It's going to complain here because we've imported something and not used it. And it's going to complain here because we've imported something and not used it. But that's just kind of the way it has to be, really. And I know there are ways to disable Flake 8 on specific lines, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. So that's that. And the last thing that we've got is app.py. So what's going on in app.py here is it's basically setting up a bunch of stuff. The first thing it does is it sets up it does a bunch of imports. I'll talk about them in a moment, but it sets up the Flask app. Then it sets up the secret key and the security password salt. These are needed. The secret key is needed for the login functionality with Flask. It's used to sign the cookies that Flask sends to the front end, the website. Security password salt is used so that when we register users or log in, the password will use this setting here in its encryption mechanism. Then we are setting up where the sessions are going to be stored, and we create the security object. The security object, I'm not sure if it's used anywhere. I don't think so, but basically this object has to be created and it has to be kept in memory because it represents the link between Flask Security 2 and the Flask app. Then before we deal with the first request that anybody makes to our Flask app, we're gonna initialize the database, which is gonna create our tables if they don't already exist. And it's gonna add some test data in there so we can test the login functionality. And then it's going to do dbsession.commit, which is actually saving the data that we have created into the database file. If we don't commit, then this stays in memory and it doesn't actually get saved to the disk. Then we've also got a home root that has the auth required decorator, and that simply says, if I didn't receive a cookie from the website when we access this request, then we're going to send the user to the login page and we're going to ask them to log in so that we then have a session for this user. Whenever a user logs in, a session gets some data in the Flask side of things and it sends a cookie to the front end, and that cookie is then sent back to Flask on every request, and that is what gets checked to see if the user has logged in or not. Quite a lot of things going on in here. Let's copy that, bring it over to app.py, and we're going to change a couple of things. Flask app config debug true is no longer needed as of Flask 2, and this stuff here is no longer needed either. So there we have it. Now, in theory, if all goes well, we should be able to do Flask run, and that will start the Flask app. If you had the if name equal main here and you wanted to use this, you'd have to type python app.py. So we've got 127.1:5000 and we've got internal server error. So we read the error and you can see that we're missing the password encryption mechanism that Flask Security 2 uses. So we're gonna cancel that and do pip install bcrypt. We're gonna use that. So let's Flask run again. And there we have it. So we tried to access the home page, auth was required, so we got redirected to the login page, and we've got a nice wee message in there. Please log in to access this page. So let's log in. So this is test.me.com and password. And there we have the page that is now working. So this is what Flask Security 2 does. And there are a few interesting things. Obviously, these pages here, well, I can't log out now. Let me just get rid of this. I'm also gonna do something here. Instead of storing the database in a temporary folder, I'm gonna store it here in the project folder. I'm gonna add it to the git ignore so it doesn't get committed. We're gonna do flask.run. I'm gonna go into here. So now we have to log in again. So what I was gonna say, I've forgotten. I was about to say something. Can't remember. Anyway, oh yeah. So how what it does internally is obviously these login pages and stuff don't look the best, but those are in the VM lib Python 3.10 site packages. You scroll down here, you've got Flask Security, and you'll see in here there are some templates/security, And in here, there is one called loginuser.html, and there's a bunch of others. This is what's getting rendered. And I'm not 100% sure how it works in order to serve this in your Flask app. I'm guessing there's some sort of registration endpoint somewhere in there that links this template with our app. But basically, and what the documentation says for Flask Security 2 is if you want to modify this page, then copy it, make your own template. So let me just close the VM there. Go into our templates, make a security folder, and in here make a login_user.html template. It has to be called that to match exactly the original one. Make this, and then you can change it. So I'll change this to Bob. Restart. Well, we need to restart the app. And now this is using our template. So if we wanted to include the CSS files, or if we wanted to change this in some way, for example, to take in some extra information from our users or something like that, we could do that here. But for now, we don't need to. So let's just close that. So there we have it. This is the login page, and we need to be able to sign up as well. So it doesn't deal with sign up by default, so we are gonna want to add that. So that's registerable. Basically, there are a bunch of app config settings that we can use. One of them is app config security registerable. Make sure to spell it right though, not like me. Security registerable specifies if Flask security should create a user registration endpoint. We want this to be true. But for now, we don't want to send an email confirmation. So app config security send register email. It's going to be false. That's because I don't want to deal with the email side of things just yet. Later on, if you're registering actual users, you're going to want to do that. Pardon me. Any questions so far? If you've got any, just ask away. I'm gonna check the Discord as well. See if anybody's said anything in there. No, okay, so we're all good. Okay, so now we've got user signups. I'll show you what that looks like. So we've got register and login. The other thing that we would probably want to do is open a database. So let me just bring this reveal and finder. Here we go. Bit buggy in there. Just so we can see what's going on. So browse data, user, and we've got the test in here. You can see that it's doing the password hashing for us, which is nice. There's no username. I know this other data in here is not currently being used. I'm not 100% sure how to set it up. I've not used it. But there you have it. So that's all good. So now that we've got users that can log in and sign up, the next thing will be to create a model to associate an image that has been uploaded to B2 Backblaze with a specific user. So let's have a look at how we do that. I'm going to create a new model that I'm going to call image.py, and images are going to have an ID, which is going to be the identifier for the image. They're going to have a Backblaze URL. And let's see if the Backblaze URL is public. Oh, I need to sign in again. That's good. If the Backblaze URL is public, then maybe we can just save the URL. So browse files. And so what I'll do is I'll grab that and I'll open up an incognito window. So I've opened up an incognito window and you can see that I'm getting an unauthorized code, and I think that's because this bucket is set to private. So let's see if we can change that and set it to public. Because as far as I can tell, from my very, very brief research, the Instagram API takes in a URL for the picture. It doesn't take in the bytes that make up the picture itself. And so we need this to be public in order for us to be able to give the URL of the image to the Instagram API, because the Instagram API basically is going to just make a request to that endpoint and download the picture. And if it's private, they obviously won't be able to do that. So just made that change. And it says it's going to take up to 10 minutes to apply the changes. So we'll check back in a little bit and see if the image becomes public. In fact, it's public already, so that's good. Okay, so that is then what we can store in our database. So the image ID, the user that uploaded it, obviously, and the image URL. So let's do that. I'm just gonna copy this in here, put that in there. We're gonna need a bunch of things. So I'm just gonna copy these imports and then delete the ones we don't need, obviously. And we don't need those two, we don't need that. We may need backref, we need relationship. We don't need Boolean, and we don't need that or that. So for now, yeah, we're gonna use datetime later on. But for now, we don't need it. So the image, Instagram image, it's going to be that. There's going to be an ID, which is an integer, and there's going to be a user ID, which is a foreign key, and there's going to be an image URL, which is a column, which is a string, which we are going to need. Yeah. And this is nullable false because we do need it. And then there's going to be a user relationship. Kim Tam asks if they should use PyCharm or VS Code for Python. Totally up to you. I used to prefer PyCharm because of the debugger, but recently I've either gotten to know the VS Code debugger better or they've improved it. And now I'm pretty happy with the VS Code debugger, so I find myself using VS Code almost exclusively. Although I think JetBrains is coming out with a new IDE soon, which promises to be pretty good, but it's still very early days, so difficult to say if it's gonna be better or worse than VS Code. So we're gonna get a relationship here from images to the user that posted them, and I can't remember how to do that, so I'll just check it out here. You can see that I'm not worrying about the look of the SaaS app or CSS or anything like that at this stage. We figured out that we can upload images to B2. Now we're doing a little bit of how it's going to get used. There's still a big chunk of work missing, which is uploading to Instagram. But the problem with uploading to Instagram is it looks so complicated that I didn't think I would have time in this episode to do it. So that'll be another episode. So we've got a relationship, which is the relationship is going to be one image. So one user has a lot of images that they've uploaded. Each image only has one user that uploads it. So it is a one-to-one. That doesn't make any sense. It's a one-to-many. So from many images to one user. So I do apologize for the incredible slowness of this internet. It's become pretty apparent that I need to upgrade my broadband. So in the parent, which is the one side of things, one too many. No, so in the parent, which is the one side of things, and it has many children. So the child has the parent ID. Here we've got the user ID. And we have the parent, which is a relationship to user, and it back populates images. Yeah. So we don't need relation. We don't need backref. Okay, so I can't remember much about SQL Alchemy, to be honest, but it seems there's two options from the documentation. You can either define the relationship in the child, relationship to parent, back populates children, and on the parent, so children has to match the back populates, and then it has a relationship to child and back populates parent. So this is kind of the linkage between parent to parent and children to children. Or you can use backref, in which case you only need to define the relationship on one side. I really don't like that, because then when you look at the child, you don't know if it has a parent or not. You have to look at the parent to determine that the child has a parent property. Very confusing stuff. So definitely not going to use backref. I'm going to use backpopulates. I find that a little bit easier. And in fact, I'm going to go to the other models and change them as well. So let me just get rid of that. Backpopulates images. And then we're going to go to auth. Here we're going to find any backrefs. Although, do you need backref for lazy is dynamic? Because if you do, then maybe we do need that. SQL Alchemy lazy dynamic. Also, I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about music? Should I have music on right now? Would that help? Would that be interesting? Relationship loading techniques. This is 1.3. We don't want that. I don't know if music would be interesting, or would it be distracting? Relationship post lazy dynamic. So we don't need lazy dynamic with the backref. So here we're gonna change this to back populates users lazy dynamic. We're gonna get rid of this backref. Just like that. We're gonna add the new line in there because it wants that. That backpopulates users on role. Cool. And so what we've got here between users and role is a many-to-many. So we need to figure out how they recommend doing that. So you need a secondary. Cool. So yeah. So this one is going to have users, which is a relationship to user. Secondary is roles users. Here in the documentation, they have an association table. Whereas here we have this class. So in the spirit of saving us some work, I'm going to undo this stuff here. Oh, actually, no, sorry, the secondary is there. So never mind, I'm not going to undo any of that. But we do need to give it the table name, and the table name is that. So redo everything. Roles, users. There we go. But it populates roles. And I'm guessing lazy dynamic also. Cool. No music then. So I think that should work. And what we've gained from this is that now when we look at the role model, we can see that it should have a users property. That not very useful at this point, but whenever you see something that you don't like in code and you think you can make better, it's usually better to just do it as opposed to kind of keep it in the back of your head that this should be improved. Just improve it. As you go along, we can now delete some imports. We also don't need create engine in there. Brilliant. There we go. All right. Let me think then. So now we've got this image here. Let me just bring it over to from models, image, import Instagram image. Bring it into the init.py so that when we go to database here and it imports it, then it'll create the appropriate tables. So we've got that, which is good. So we're gonna be able to create the table. And now what we have to do is when we register a user, we need to create an endpoint to upload images. And then when an image is uploaded, we will save it to B2 Backblaze alongside creating a Postgres, or not Postgres, but creating a Instagram image model, which then we'll save the URL of the image that we saved to B2 Backblaze together with the user ID of the user who uploaded it. Hey Henry, it's best if we keep it to English since this is primarily an English stream. But yeah, obviously, well, not obviously, but I'm Spanish. So if you have any questions in Spanish, I'm not sure how to go about that really. Whether to ask them in Spanish or If you can ask them in English, that would be best. If you can't ask them in English, ask them in Spanish. That's fine. But I'll probably respond in English. Let me know if that's all right. So let's go and do that. So I'm gonna just close everything, stop this. And by the way, I'm noticing that there are some SQLite errors popping up. That's because I think Flask Security 2 doesn't work that well with SQLite. I don't know, but I foresee these errors going away when we switch to Postgres. So let me git ignore here illustration2.jpg. This is a bit of a hack, by the way. We should have some sort of test folder, and everything that we're using to test things should go in there. But not needed just now. So let me just commit and push everything that we've got up till now. Git add this, git status. So we're pushing the git ignore app.py, b2 upload database, models and requirements.txt, add b2 upload script to test b2 Backblaze upload, and set up Flask Security 2 for user login and registration. Also added image, Instagram image model to hold metadata about an image uploaded to B2. Okay. So again, this is in the repo, which is at tecladocode/Instagram-scheduler-stream. So you can have a look at that there if you want. Let's move on to some views then. And in the views, I'm gonna create upload.py, and here we're gonna do from Flask import blueprint render template request. We're gonna need those three. Upload pages is gonna be a blueprint. Upload pages name. Upload pages is gonna root. URL prefix, and I don't even know if we're gonna have more than one root here. Is it auth required? Auth required, yeah. So what we're doing here is we are creating a blueprint. A blueprint is like a Flask subsection of an app, if you will. We're calling it upload pages, and here we can basically define a bunch of routes. So here we're gonna have this route, which is gonna handle receiving an image or rendering the template. So if request method is post, that means that we're receiving an image. Otherwise, we're gonna return render template, and the template is gonna be upload.html. Okay, so the image that we're gonna receive is gonna be in the request files as a form. If not, we're gonna send upload.html. Upload.html is gonna be the page that has the form that we're gonna send users. They're gonna be able to use that form, and when they submit it, the file data will be sent to us. So let's go into templates, upload.html. So we'll do that, and in here we'll do a form. And in here we'll have an input of type file, and the name is going to be image. And then input type of submit, and the value is upload. So this is as bare bones as it gets, really, for a form. Let me run this. I think I need to delete test.db. I think I made a mistake then in the in the model somewhere. Let's check it out. So it says mapper user has no property images. Oh yeah, so that's the error. Remember here I had this user relationship with back populates images. So we need to go into the user and add the images relationship. So let's go in here, user, images is a relationship to Instagram image, back populates user. User, yeah. Okay, that should be that. So let me turn that off, delete the database, start again, go in there. User.roles does not support object population. Interesting. This is one of the reasons to not do any premature refactoring. So that's always a difficult one. Let me come back to that. So Resat, does Flask Security handle XSS as well? Yes, I believe so. It has CSRF tokens. So let's have a look at this error. I don't know what it means. So Google is our best friend. Well, Brave search in this case. Stack Overflow. Love it. No problem. This is not what we... Not the error. So oh, look at that, brilliant. SQL Alchemy, SQL Improvement. It is possible you get the following error. We did get the error. This is solvable by removing lazy dynamic from your rule definition. It would be helpful if we knew why that is, but okay, we'll take it. We'll accept it. No, no we won't. Well, gotta love debugging. Lazy dynamic relation can be eager loaded. So what a lazy dynamic relationship is that the user's roles, and so when you have a user object, the roles attribute is not a list of roles. It is a SQL Alchemy query that you have to process before you get the roles. So basically, if this was not lazy dynamic, then when we do user.roles, that will, when we create a user object, basically, it will get the user data from the database, and it will also get the info from the roles that are associated to that user. By making it lazy dynamic, it doesn't go into roles, it just gets the user data. And if we want the roles, we have to execute that as a separate query. So it's performance improvements. If you don't need the roles, you're not wasting time going into the database and fetching them. That's what lazy dynamic does. But I'm not 100% sure why it's saying that it doesn't support that. Since the problem happens here, find user. Does not support object population. Hey Radwan, thank you. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. We're a bit stuck right now here because I was trying to make what I thought was an improvement anyway to this code here. But this is a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about it. I'm daft. Am I daft? So I think what's happening here in the user class, we've got the roles relationship, which is this, and it is the back ref that is dynamic, not the user's relationship that is dynamic. So basically, I think that what we had at the beginning is not lazy dynamic in there, but lazy dynamic in here. I think that's what this means now, having read it again. Yeah, it seems that was correct. Okay, I'm not sure why this can't be lazy dynamic, but I'm not going to worry about it at this time, to be fair. We will figure it out another time. So the upload route here is going to be in /upload because this is the home route of the blueprint, but the blueprint has a URL prefix. Let me just close that. So it's going to be /upload, but it requires auth. So before we go into the upload, we need to authenticate. So that's here, login, and there we have that, and we're going to go to upload. Not found, obviously. So it's pretty easy to feel daft when you're doing coding. Not found because we defined the blueprint, but we haven't registered it. So we do have to go into from views, upload, import, upload pages. Hey Radwan, thank you so much. I think you must be the first person to do a super chat. That's amazing. I didn't even know those were enabled. Yeah, thank you very much, dude. Appreciate it. That's amazing. Now I can make a living off live streaming. Sorry, that sounded a bit sarcastic, but I didn't mean it sarcastically at all. That's amazing. This is something I definitely wasn't expecting. So thank you. So we have imported the blueprint. Now we just need to register it, and I'm going to register it down here. So app register blueprint, upload pages. So by the way, I'm stopping and restarting the app each time because we've been doing a lot of deleting the database and restarting the database and things like that. If you're not deleting the database each time, you don't need to restart the app. What you can do is you can create a file which is Flask env, and here you can set Flask debug to 1, and that's going to start the Flask app in debug mode. Yeah, you can see Flask debug mode on. Now every time we make a code change to the Python code, it's going to restart the app for us, so that's a little bit better. So there we have our upload. We haven't deleted the database since the last time we logged in, so we're still logged in basically. and we haven't changed the secret key or anything like that. So the cookie that we had generated the last time we started the app still works for this version of the app. So now if we choose a file here, and we are gonna go to here, and we're gonna choose illustration 2. We can hit upload and nothing happens, right? I mean, we have received a request to /upload ?image equal illustration2.jpg, but it doesn't do anything. A couple of things that we have to change is the form method has to be post. You can't send images via get. So that's post now. So now instead of get /upload /image illustration2.jpg, it's going to be a post /upload, and this image illustration2.jpg is not going to be included. And that means that when we go in here, this if statement is going to run and we're going to receive an image. So now we have to get the image from Flask, or from the request, and put it into Backblaze B2. So that. This is another one of those moments where having your notes is going to be helpful, because I already have some notes on uploads with Flask that I've collected over the last couple of days. And there are two ways to do Flask uploads. There's a small file upload mechanism where your photos are small, and there's a large file upload mechanism. Here we're using the small file upload mechanism, which is just a form with a file. We're going to use the Flask re-uploaded extension, and this is kind of how you set it up. So let's do that. But let me take a couple of minute break first. So I will be right back. I'll just open the launch URL. I'll just open that first. All right, just give me a second, guys. I will turn this off. All right, be right back. We're back. Okay, so just left this in here because this is basically all we have to do. So we're gonna install Flask re-uploaded. So let's turn that off and install Flask re-uploaded, and then wait a minute. We don't need this. Never mind. Pip uninstall. We're not uploading the images to Flask. That's my bad. So I was really confident that we needed to upload the images here, but we don't. We've got the image, and we're gonna put it in B2 Backblaze, so we don't want to upload it locally. Although now I'm thinking we could upload it locally and then use B2 Backblaze sync mechanism that we looked at earlier in the stream. But no, we're not going to do that. Okay, so we're going to receive the image and we're just going to put it into B2 Backblaze. So one of the things that Flask Reuploaded does is it has a pretty nice API for just saving the images into an upload set, and it handles things like accepting only certain file extensions and stuff like that. But I know that Miguel Grinberg has a tutorial on uploads with Flask using pure Flask. Which I read the other day, and it seems pretty good. So a decent way to do it. We're going to try it out. If it loads. All right. So also multi-part form data. Yeah, there we go. So we do need this in our HTML. Let's bring that in. By the way, this guy is miguelgrinberg.com, or blog.miguelgrinberg.com. Very good stuff. And it seems that the input fields themselves can have an accept keyword, so that's pretty handy to only accept images, although I think that can be bypassed. So at its core, we've got this here in upload. So this is how you would simply get the uploaded file and save it to the local folder or the current Flask folder. We don't want to do that, but what we do want to do is he shows a few variations on the code, which has a few improvements. The first one is that after uploading the file, we will redirect to this we will redirect the user to this endpoint, but using a GET request. So we will send the browser, we'll refresh the page basically. So we do want to do that. And then he shows an example using Flask WTF, which is a good one. Then there's this max content length in app.config that we can use. We're going to use that for allowing images up to 8 megabytes in size. I think that should be sufficient. Let me just see how big this image is. It's 0.5 megabyte, so that's pretty small. So maybe we'll just do 4 megabytes in size. And then we're gonna grab that for the upload extensions, and we're only going to accept JPEGs, PNG. We're only going to accept JPEGs. Instagram only accepts JPEGs. So it is tempting to only accept JPEGs for now. Yeah, let's do that. Although that we then need to manually filter. So we'll do that. Isreach, going into upload.py here. Do that. And we are gonna do this, that, and that. And we need to import OS. We need to import current app and abort. Okay, so we've got a couple of things here. We're getting the file, and in request of files, we get the file name as well as the file info, like the data, the bytes that make up the image. We're then getting the extension by using split extension from the OS path module. And if the extension is not in the upload extensions list, then we abort and say not accepted. Otherwise, we save the file. Except instead of saving the file using uploaded file.save, we're going to want to grab the uploaded file bytes and send them to B2 Backblaze. Or maybe what's even better will be to save the file locally and then use B2 Backblaze to upload it, and then delete it from the local hard drive. It is possible when we get the uploaded file here, we have the bytes. So we can save them to the local hard drive, and then we end up with a file in the hard drive. Or maybe we can send the bytes directly to B2. That may be under the advanced usage pattern. Obviously, what we've done so far is saving it to the local drive, and then this may be a bit too complicated at this point. What we've done so far is saving it to the local drive because we had the image in my local hard drive, and then we've uploaded that to the B2. So maybe we'll do that. So we do need to upload it to the local drive and then delete it. So we'll try that and see what happens. Also, I appreciate that we've just gone over 2 hours. I'm looking to finish up soon, but I'm gonna see if we can get this uploaded and into B2. Hopefully it won't take very long, and we can try it out and see if it works. So this is gonna save the file. Then we're gonna upload to B2 using the mechanism that we've already tried, and then we're gonna delete the file from local. So to upload to B2, we already have all the info, which is in here. What we can do is we can wrap the uploading mechanism, which is really a few of these lines, and we can just put it in a function, upload to B2. And what we need is the local file path, and that's it. This is all we need. So the local file path is going to be provided. The B2 file name is going to be calculated from the local file path. And that's it. So we'll call that from upload. We're going to import. We're going to say from B2. Upload import upload to B2. Did the stream just go down for a second? Let me know. Let me know if it went down. It kind of looked like it did, which is not ideal. So here we're gonna do upload to B2, and we are. Hey Raduan, this is the first. No, it was fine. Okay. Raduan, this is the first day. I think we're gonna do 5 or 6. So that's what this is gonna do. So here we're gonna have a local file path, and we need to extract the file name from it. But for now, we're gonna use the same. Are we? Maybe not. So OS path, apps path. Local file path. It's not apps path that we need. It is Python OS path. It is something else. Given a path, we can use OS path to get the name of the file. So let me have a look at what function we need, because I can't remember. I think it's base name. But there'll be a cookbook down here or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's base name. Yeah. So it says here, return the final component of a path name. So that's what we want. Local file is local file path. File name is v2 file name, so that's good. And the uploaded file is a workzoig file storage object. So let's have a look at the documentation, because we want to see what save is doing, whether it's saving it in the local path, or what is it gonna do. It's very slow though. Very, very slow. Well, that doesn't say much. Doesn't say much at all. Let's try it. Let's try it out and see what happens. So I'm not going to worry about deleting the file just now. Let's just run it. Oh, this happens quite a lot actually. Some problem with the Brave browser, I want to say. Yes, here. There we go. What's this doing? Now it wants to update. There we go. Choose file, session 2, open. All right, let's see what happens. Okay. Yes, request files. File is not correct. It is image. Hey. Oh. Let's try again. Something's happening. This should be much quicker than it is right now, though, I think. So it did something. It uploaded, but maybe it didn't manage to upload because the file name is the same as something that's already there, so maybe it didn't do anything. Difficult to say. It did. So, oh, one sec. It did upload it. So here's the image in my folder, and you can see it was modified at 12:09, so just a minute ago. So it did upload it, and it replaced the existing file. Good. That's fantastic. Let's see if it uploaded it to Backblaze then. Incredibly slow though. I said this a few times already, but very, very slow. All right. Well, that's not working. Very strange. Very, very strange. I'm using a Mac just now. Yeah, I don't know why Safari works, but Brave doesn't. I'm having a lot of problems with it. Size 1.1 megabytes. That it sounds promising. And there's two of them. Uploaded 12:15 at 12:09. So yeah, it worked. So that's amazing. We have to delete the file from local. And how we're going to do that is we're going to do os path I think it's something in sys actually. Python delete file. Thank you very much. To be honest, I thought it was going to be a bit more tricky. Not that this was easy. Oh my god, just look at that. No, nothing's working. Let me bring that in. Take that away. Bring that in there. So Python delete file. I think it says something, but I can't remember. So let's see. OS remove. That's the one. OS remove file name. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to make a test folder, and I'm going to put illustration2.jpg into test, because then it's going to get uploaded in here and it's going to get removed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out OS remove file name. I'm going to start the app and get rid of that. And we are going to go to 127.0:5000. We're going to go to upload. If it works. It doesn't work. That's very strange. Very strange. Let me just restart it again. Maybe because I had to update, it didn't work. It's not good when your browser refuses to load websites. Kind of defeats the point of it, I think. Yeah, it's updating. Okay, we're back. Okay, so we've got our file. Let me just bring this back into here. We'll choose the file. It's in test now. Here, open. We'll upload it. Now you can see it's in there, in the home page, or in the main folder, which is good. It's still kind of uploading and saving the file to B2, but then that's it done, and we are redirected back to this page where we are right now, and we didn't remove the file name. So let's save this and try again. Let's see if it actually deletes the file from there. Very strange. Okay, so we got that, open that. So it'll replace illustration2.jpg in here, and then it should delete it. So we should end up with nothing. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. But we'll see. Getting some problems with the stream. I think it can handle the upload and simultaneous streaming. Maybe we're back now, I'm not sure. Anyway, that worked, so that's good. We've got the upload to B2, which is good. Something that we do want from the B2 upload is we want to get the file link. It was frozen for a moment. Okay, that's unfortunate. Hopefully it's better now. Okay, good. Thank you guys. Yeah, I don't know why when I upload here it breaks the stream when this is local host, so it's not actually going over the internet, but I don't know. So upload local file gives us a file version object. So let's have a look and see if that contains the link that we want. So let's see. Final version. There we go. This is not what I was hoping. So it seems that file version does not give us a link, judging from what is in here. So let's see if we can find a link. Or a URL, public URL. Wait. Maybe it'll be one of these. Okay, get download URL for file ID. So we'll call that. And this is in B2 API. So B2 API, get download URL for file ID. Uploaded file is that. And this is uploaded file dot, I think it's ID. Let's see. ID underscore. Okay, so hopefully this will give us a download URL, which upload to B2 is gonna give us. So it's that, and then we can use that together with the current user's ID to create and save an image, an Instagram image model. Let's see if that works. From models image, well, from models import Instagram image. We can do that. Instagram image, and then we need a user ID, which is current user dot ID, and a URL, which is image URL. URL. But we need to save that, and we can follow the way that we did it here, which is user data store. Find user data store, create user. So we can probably we can probably just import this session, the database session. From database, import db session. And that's in here. So that may be db session.add. Add that db session.commit. Not sure if this is going to work, but we will try it. So I'm gonna restart this just in case. And again, it didn't like that. Very problematic, this thing. Okay, there we go. Let's try it. Not sure what's going to happen. Probably some sort of error. That's usually what happens with these things when you start. What I'm thinking is going to happen is it's going to upload it to the B2 Backblaze, and then it's going to create the Instagram image model with the appropriate information, and it's going to save it to the database. So then we're going to have a permanent store in there of the image, who uploaded it, and the file URL. Well, there's no error. That's promising. That's very promising. But there's also no data, so that's not as promising. So I think it did upload, but it didn't save. So maybe not using the DB session correctly. SQL Alchemy data store doesn't seem to do anything, to be fair. Haha, this didn't update. I thought everything was all right. I need to trust my gut a bit more. So we've got it. We've got here this, which I'm not sure if that's right. Is it right? It is. My God. That's amazing. All right. So definitely did not expect that, but at the same time, just need to trust myself a bit. So we've got users in here, user ID 1, images, user ID 1. Let's try to register a new user and upload an image and see if it uploads with a different username. So what to do is delete that Flask run, go in here, now it'll ask me to sign up. I'm gonna sign up, and I'm gonna do that. 1 2 3 4 5 register. Okay, let's choose another file. So this is the second user in the application, which this is not refreshing properly, but let's browse data. Yeah, there's no images in there. Now users, there are 2, which is good. Let's upload this. And if the programming gods are with us, we have an image and the user ID that uploaded it is number 2. Okay, so we have quite a lot today. Doesn't look amazing, that's for sure, but it does quite a lot. So let me just close the VM in there. So what have we done today is let me, I'm gonna just record this bit as well. Okay, so what we've done today is we have it says we're not getting any data. Maybe we're back. My God, the internet really is terrible. Okay, hopefully it's more or less watchable. So what we've done is quite a lot of stuff. We have set up so Resat, I think my internet is just gone, completely gone. Summary after also. I don't know what's happening, but my broadband contract is expiring soon, so I'm hoping to upgrade. This one is pretty terrible. Okay, let me just go over what we've done then, and then we'll call it a day. So what we've done is we have signed up with B2 Backblaze, which is a cloud storage service. And when we have a B2 Backblaze account, we can upload files to B2 Backblaze. And those files then each get stored in B2 Backblaze's servers, and we get a URL with which we can access the file. And so what we're doing here in B2 upload.py is we are getting our B2 Backblaze account information, and we're connecting to B2 Backblaze, and we're uploading a file. And the file we upload is given by this local file path. So if we have a path to an image, for example, test/illustration2.jpg, and we give that to this function, it'll take that and it will upload it to B2 Backblaze, and then it will give us back the URL that we can use to access that file on their servers. So that's a main part of this Instagram scheduler application. Then the upload part is here in view/upload.py. What we're doing is we're receiving an image from the user using an HTML form. We're getting the file and the file name, and we are checking if the file name is acceptable. And if it is, we're saving it to the local file system. So basically it will recreate the image here somewhere. And then it will use that file system image to upload it to B2 Backblaze. Then it will delete the file, and then it will create an Instagram image model that we're going to save to our database. And that model is going to contain the current user ID and the current file URL. That model is defined here. It's a SQL Alchemy model that has a user ID column, an ID column, which is auto-generated, user ID column, which links to the user models, and the image URL column, which is a string for B2 Backblaze. The users are all, the user login, registration, and the user models are all coming from a Flask extension called Flask Security 2. So Flask Security 2 deals with giving us login pages, registration pages, and so forth. There are a few models, SQL Alchemy models, that we got from Flask Security 2. There's the user model that allows us to store user information in our database very easily. Things like ID, email, username, password, and also there's a relationship to images here. And there's roles and a relationship with between users and roles. So if we wanted to create specific user roles like admin or editor or something like that for our application, we could do that quite easily with these. And then we have an upload template that allows users to upload images. Very simple. It's just a file input and a submit button. This endpoint and the whole image upload mechanism is secured by auth_required. And this is part of Flask Security 2, and basically says that if the user has a cookie that identifies them as having logged in, they can access this endpoint. If they don't have that cookie, they can't access the endpoint. And when they don't have the cookie, Flask Security 2 redirects the user to the login page. And it creates the login page and the sign up page for us. And then in app.py, we have some configuration properties, such as the secret key used to sign the cookies, the security password salt used to encrypt user passwords, some Flask Security 2 configuration, such as whether we can register users or not, upload configuration, such as the maximum size of images, which is set to 4 megabytes. Then we sort of register the blueprint, and we create a method for registering users, or create over there. And after that, what we'll want to do is schedule the posting, and we'll need to run a background process that uploads images when the schedule is met. So there's still quite a lot to do, but we've made a lot of progress today. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. And thanks for the questions as well. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've kind of learned something. And as usual, if you have any questions or you're wondering about anything related to this app, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll be here for a few more minutes answering questions if you've got any, or if you just want to talk about something unrelated to this and be called that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.